Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Senna. I am a Ghanaian YouTuber. I recently moved to the UK as an international student. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming by to watch another one of my videos. I do appreciate your presence here. So if you're watching me guys and you're not already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Just click on the red subscribe button down below, and also don't forget to click on the bell icon close to it so that you don't miss any new videos I upload guys. Thank you so much for your time and your presence here once again. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience of taking the IELTS for the first time. So as I've already mentioned, I'm an international student in the UK. If you've been watching me, you know that I moved here recently, and during my application and admission process, I had to take the IELTS test as part of the conditions of my offer. So I completed university in Ghana in 2017, and I did my application last year 2021, and I was hoping that I would use my YA English results as a proof of my English language proficiency, but unfortunately the school said I had completed high school a while ago. That was in 2013, and so I had to retake an English language test again. I don't know guys. Yes, so I had I did an interview for my school application, and then I was given the offer, but as I said, it was conditional that I had to take the test and then provide a reference and something else I've forgotten. So I had to prepare and take the IELTS test. I gave myself about a month to prepare for the test, and guys, if I tell you that I was lazy during this time, I gave myself any excuse not to take practice tests. Please don't be like me. So as I go on, I'm going to be sharing some helpful tips, and so yeah, I think I should have done more practice tests than I did. And anytime I was doing the practice test, it just felt like pressure of exams, because as you are doing this test, you need to do it under examination conditions, so you need to try and time yourself and stuff like that. And you know how exams can be very pressure and stuff like that. So timing myself in that way still gave me anxiety and pressure, so I didn't do as much test as I needed to, but I still did well. This is my grade. I had an overall band of 8. I don't know if you can see, and I had a 9 in my listening test, so I think I did something well. So the scores are from 0 to 9, and where 0 is the least that you can 0 is like you didn't even go to take the test at all, meanwhile you registered, and then I don't know, 9 is the highest that you can get. So I got a 9 in listening, a 7.5 in reading, 7.5 in writing, and 7 in speaking. And this was a very anxious time for me. Like, I'm always very anxious when I need to take any practice assessment exam, stuff like that. So yes, this was even when I didn't practice enough and when I was feeling so much anxiety. So this is something that you can easily do guys. This is a test that you can pass on your first try if you implement the tips that I'll be sharing in this video. So if you need to take the IELTS test anytime soon and you're trying to prepare it, I hope you find this video helpful. I hope that it will be a starting point in your preparation towards writing the test. So if this is something that you're interested in, just keep watching guys. Okay, so I thought I would start by giving a little background into what IELTS is. So the full meaning of IELTS is International English Language Testing System. It is simply a test of English language proficiency. So for most of us coming from Africa, we know that English is not like our first language. It's not a native language. So to be able to come study here for a higher education course like a master's program, or even sometimes when you're immigrating and if you're coming for certain occupations, you're required to take the IELTS test. I don't know for other things that you need it for, but I did it for educational purposes and for my master's application, and so that's why I did it for, and so that's why I know. So I took my proficiency test for educational purposes. And so there are different types of the IELTS test. We have IELTS General, IELTS academic, and IELTS UKVI general and academic. I think that one is for immigration purposes. What I did was the IELTS academic test, and that is what you would need if you're coming to study. I believe most schools would require that you take the IELTS academic test to prove your English language proficiency. Guys, I'm sorry if I keep looking down. I just have my points here. And so yes, those are the types of IELTS that we have, and the organizations responsible for this test in Ghana that I know of are British Council and IDP. I think worldwide, wherever it is that you need to take the test from, I think these are the two organizations. And I believe Cambridge too, I'm not sure. But yeah, I did my test with the British Council in Ghana, and so that's what I know. And then the test used to be purely written. Back in the days, it used to be written, but now they've introduced the computer-based test as well. So you have the option to either do the written test or the computer-based test. If your handwriting is as bad as mine and you're comfortable using the computer, please just go for the computer-based test. I think it's way easier, less messier, and all of that jazz. So yes, there's the computer-based test, and then there's the written one. If you feel more comfortable writing, of course, if you are the type of person who feels comfortable writing your points, so please go for whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. But I did the computer-based test, and so yeah, those are the types of tests that we have available. So I'm going to dive right into the tips. I'm going to start with some general tips first, of course. I think the first thing that I'll tell you if you are preparing for this test is to believe in yourself. I don't know, but I feel like there's this kind of fear. Well, examinations are nerve-wracking generally. Any type of assessments can be nerve-wracking because what if I fail? I've invested this money into it, and then what if I don't pass, right? There's that fear. But I just want to say that just believe in yourself. I'm sure if you are applying for a master's level studies, if you're applying for an occupation, you would have been through school, like you've gone to school, maybe you've had your first degree. It's just an English language test. It's nothing new. Like it's something that you already know. So just believe in yourself. You can do it. You can pass this test on your first try. It's not rocket science. It's not that difficult as it seems to be sometimes. So yes, that's the first thing I want to tell you, is that believe in yourself. Don't let fear cripple you. Don't let fear make you feel the test that you can easily pass. So that's the first advice that I would give you. And then the next thing that I would say is that you need to take a practice test. So if you know that you're going to be needing the IELTS, if you know that you need the IELTS for whatever purpose, and find out first which type of test that you need to take, whether general or academic, and then take a practice test. There are resources, that are practice tests that are available on the British Council website, and some very good websites that I'll leave the links to below. Just take a test first. Now the purpose of this test is for you to assess your strengths. So the test itself is divided into 4 parts. There's the speaking, the listening, the reading, and the writing, like I mentioned earlier. And so you need to take this test to know where your strengths and your weaknesses lie, you get. So just take the test in the first instance to see where you're good at, where you have weaknesses, and then from this point you can start working on your weaknesses and perfecting your strengths, if that makes sense. So I'll say that you need to take a test in the first instance, then that will show you where you need to focus your learning and practice on. And then I would also say that you get a special book dedicated for this purpose, and then you divide this book into the different parts, so that you have like everything that you're doing, every practice that you're doing in one place, so that you're not doing it on various sheets of papers that can just easily get missing. So you have everything on one in one book that you can easily reference. You can go back to and see, oh, this is the progress that I'm making so far, you get. So just get a book specially dedicated for this purpose. And then also I would say that as you are preparing for the test and you're taking these practice tests, make sure you're getting your resources from um, the right websites, because like most people have just come up with their own practice test and put it out there. And if you're taking these tests and you're doing very well on it, the situation might be very different, the result or the outcome might be very different on the day of the test. So make sure that you are getting your resources from the right source, like the British Council website. I don't know if IDP has a website, but like just make sure that you're getting your resources from the right websites, and so that you know that you are doing the right practices, because these resources that, like for instance, British Council puts out there is very similar to the actual test that you'll be taking. So you don't want to be doing something that is easier and then you go into the test and then you get a totally different outcome. So I'd advise that when you're doing this test, you make sure that your source is from the right source. Also, I would like to say that you need to learn the format of the test. I think that is the main thing, like that's the main difficulty with the IELTS test, that like there's a particular format that it follows, like there's a particular way that the test is framed, and then it is time bound. Okay, so if it's just normal English, like if you're giving me assessment, take it home, do it and bring it after a number of days, then I know that this one they all fail. But you have like 60 minutes to do 40 questions, 60 minutes to do like 3 passages that sometimes can be very complex. And so this is, some of the tricky situations attached to the test are like it's really time bound. So you need to learn the format of the test, and then when you are taking these practice tests at home, just make sure that you are timing yourself, you are doing it under exam conditions and things like that. So yeah, don't be doing the test in your own time, like you give yourself 3 hours to do one listening test. In the exam is just 30 minutes, I believe, 30 minutes to answer 40 questions. So just make sure that you are doing the exam under you are doing your practice test under exam conditions. Just simulate the real test, so that when you go into the actual test, you'll not be surprised by what you meet in the test. Okay, so those are some general tips, and then now let's go into the listening and speaking. I'll just put those two together because the tips that I have for you, I think, would work for would work for both of those. So for the listening, like I mentioned earlier, it's 40 questions and you have 30 minutes to answer it. I believe that after the test, for the computer based test, because that's what I took, you have like 2 minutes. Is it 2 minutes after the test to go through your answers, to see if there's any changes that you want to make. But the listening test can be tricky in the sense that they don't repeat the questions. It's like people having conversations and things that you have to deduce the answer from. So it's like a flowing conversation. You have to be really attentive. You have to listen to what they are saying and answer your question. And so the first thing that I would say is that as you're answering your listening questions, like just keep going. If you something happened, like you missed something that was said, and so you are unable to answer a question, like don't dwell on it, don't panic as well, like just move on to the next one, just keep moving, because remember that it's an ongoing conversation and they are not waiting for you, and it's not going to be repeated, sorry. So just keep going to answer the other questions, and then after the test has been completed, you can quickly come back and see if you can remember what was said. Even if you can remember, just take a lucky guess and then put the answer down. Don't leave any answer blank. Make sure you answer everything. So a tip that I would give you here is that for me, I started listening to the BBC World News. Yes, I started listening to the BBC World News just so that I could get used to different accents, from different places. So on the BBC World News, they've been interviewing people from different parts of the world, Canada, America, Australia, Switzerland. You don't know like who would be speaking in the tests, and so I feel like BBC really exposes you to all these different accents, and then it makes you get used to it. But already you know how we consume lots of foreign contents in Ghana and Africa anyway. Like we watch lots of foreign movies, and so all these things like have already sunk in. So we're already used to some of the accents, and so for me, I used to use this test as an excuse to watch foreign movies. So at the time, there was this show that I was watching on Netflix called New Amsterdam. I really liked it, and so I was giving myself an excuse. Okay, I have a test, and so when I don't feel like taking an actual practice test, I'll just be watching this movie, and my excuse is that I'm listening to the accent. But yeah, so just try to listen to the BBC World News. Now, not only will you get used to various accents, but you'd also pick up some, English terms that you've never heard before. Well, you can do some reading as well, of course. If you're into reading, if reading is your thing, then I'm sure you like you would already know like different kinds of vocabulary. You have more terms, you'd have like a very rich vocabulary, if that makes sense. And so I felt like listening to BBC World News also made me pick up, like unconsciously, like I was just picking up words, like some words that I wouldn't normally use in my normal speaking. And so yeah, I believe that also helped as well. So that's my main tip for the listening test. Just try to listen more, and also try to speak more English with the people around you. It will be so odd at first because now we're always speaking our local languages, and then all of a sudden, all of a sudden you're speaking English, but you know what you are going in for, and you know what you want. So don't let anyone dictate you. You can start speaking more English with the people around you, just to get used to it. Yeah, so for you can, for the speaking as well, another tip that I have for you is that you can record yourself answering some of the question. So the speaking is in three parts, and we have the part 1, 2, and 3, and the difficulty increases as you go on. So the first part, like, they ask you general questions about yourself. Yeah, general questions about yourself is quite low level. These are things that you can easily answer. My main fear about the listening test was the fact that they were going to ask me something that I have never really thought of before, and then I have to think on my feet to come up with ideas. And I also need to be mindful of the fact that I need to, have rich vocabulary, sorry, use different words to, show that I have a wide range of vocabulary. So that was one of my main fear. But I feel like if you keep doing this test, there are so many like resources out there, and even on YouTube there are so many practice speaking practice tests. So there's this guy called IELTS Dragon. That's the name of his channel. I'm going to leave all these channels down below that I used. I feel like I used lots of YouTube channels for my preparation, so I'll leave those links down as well. So I use this guy. Like, he used to answer different questions. So like, he'll pick a topic and give an example of how he would answer it in the test, and he was really good. Like, he had a really rich vocabulary, and like he's from the Philippines, and he has taken the test and he did really well, and I feel like his videos were really helpful as well. So I listened to all these things, and guys, you won't believe that I got, like, none of the questions that I got were new to me. I had already like tried to answer these questions on my own. It's just that I'm not very, like, my English doesn't flow so well. Like, I don't know if you've seen from some of my previous videos, but yeah, so that's why I had quite some 7 in the speaking, because I'm not so assertive. But that's something I'm working on. That's a weakness that I'm still working on today. But yeah, try to record yourself answering questions, and then listen back and see the mistakes that you think you are making and how you can improve. I think that's a really helpful thing to do as well. And then finally, for the reading, you have 3 passages, and I think you have 1 hour 60 minutes to answer the reading as well. So what I'll say is that some of the reading passages can be really complex. Like, don't force yourself to understand the passage that you're reading. There's no time to understand. Like, you don't have time to understand everything that you're reading. Just make sure that as you are going through, like, you're skimming and scanning through, like, because you don't have time, so, and you have lots of questions to answer, so just try to be scan through. Like, for me, sometimes when I'm reading, I need to read like a passage several times to be able to get the essence of what they're saying. You can do that in the IELTS test because you don't have enough time to do that. So just try to, underline keywords as you go. I think that's the main thing, keywords. So key dates, like location, people's names, they are likely to ask you questions related to those, so that when you see, you finally read the questions, you can quickly come back and say, oh, I saw this somewhere, I've underlined this somewhere, and then it will be easier for you to locate the answer in that area, if you know what I mean. So yes, that's the only thing that I'll say for the reading. So I feel like the test is a really easy test. It's just that it can be tricky, and it is time bound, which makes it more pressurized. And yeah, like guys, it's it's something that you can easily do. I feel like if I had put in more effort, if I had practiced more, I would have done better than I did. But even see, like, I had more than enough. I had what I needed for my test. For most schools, a 7 is all you need to be able to go through the process. So yes guys, those are the tips that I have for you today. As I've said, I'm going to leave the links to all the videos, all the YouTube channels that I subscribed to during the time that I was preparing. I heavily relied on YouTube during my preparation, and I feel like those channels really helped me. Fast Track IELTS, that's this lady called Asia, A2 IELTS Daily. Like, I just found it helpful that especially for the speaking, they would give examples and give ideas as to how they would answer it, and I feel like those ideas stuck in my head, and it really helped me in my own essay, in my own exam. So yes, I'm going to leave all those helpful links below, guys. So yes, that's all I have for you in today's video. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it as well. You can do this test in your first try. There's no need to go and fail. It's quite expensive, I would say. I paid about 1,007. I think I paid about 1,007, and now with the CD CD's value continue going down, like, I'm sure the price has gone high by now, so you don't want to go and spend all that money and then you fail. So yes, just try to do your best, take as much practice test as you can. Also, I would say that try to book your test in time. So if you know that, like, maybe you've been given a conditional offer, you know that this course I'm applying for, I'll need an IELTS test, and you decide to take it. Like, after that first practice test that you take, and then you realize your weaknesses and strengths, and then you start learning, try to book a test. If you notice that maybe you need a month or two or whatever to be able to prepare for the test very well, book it in advance, so that you have it in mind that I have something I'm looking forward to, I'm preparing to, or something. Because if you keep practicing and you've not yet booked the test, like, you don't feel motivated. You see what I mean? But if you know that there's a time ahead of you, like that you have something important coming up, then it will motivate you to put in the work that you need to prepare for the test. So yes, that's all I have for you in today's video. If you've watched to this point, guys, please consider liking this video. Just give it a big thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just click on the red subscribe button down below. It is free, guys. Help me grow my channel. And yeah, until my next video, it's a bye for now.